And now finally presenting the part 5 of online marketing research tools. I'm presenting today tool number 1, which is Google Keyword Planner. In my opinion, the most valuable group of research tools for any internet marketer, so-called keyword popularity tools. Keyword popularity tools are essential as they discover what people search on the internet. Note that search is just another way to estimate people's demand. In other words, chances are that when people, for example, search for a certain book on Amazon or Google, that he or she will eventually buy the book. So for internet marketers, search is actually the same like demand. And demand is actually an opportunity provided that there is not much competition. So I'm gonna actually repeat that. For internet marketers, search volume equals demand. And demand is the same like opportunity provided that there is not much competition. So I'm going to show you Keyword Planner tool. But before I do, I want to show you Google Trends. Google Trends, google.com/trends. It's a fabulous tool that can help you discover how people search, what search terms they use, where they search, in what countries, in what locations, etc. I'm going to use an example of actually people searching for terms Toronto and Vancouver. A travel company, for example, might wanna understand what travel destinations are people searching for. So, for example, let's see what happens with Toronto and Vancouver. We see blue line is actually Toronto and red line is Vancouver. So we can see that in year 2010, for example, many more people searched for the term Vancouver because of the Vancouver Olympic Games. However, generally speaking, Toronto, being much bigger city, does have higher search volume as well. We can also use Google Trends to compare various brands. For example, Samsung and Apple over time worldwide since year 2004. We can see that blue line, which is Samsung, was searched more and more, and now at the beginning of 2014 there is quite a significant advantage or higher volume of search when we look at Samsung compared to Apple. And then we can analyze those numbers based on, for example, brand like Apple looks like it is very much searched in Hong Kong and United States and Singapore, etc. And Samsung being very much searched in, for example, and Samsung being searched more like, for example, in India and Nepal and Philippines, etc. And let me see what else. We have related searches, so we can analyze these search terms in more details. And we can also specify different years, different regions, and learn more about two brands. Another example would be if you want to compare Adidas and Nike. And what I did here, I actually used Germany as a country, and I was trying to see if Adidas, which is actually a German company, is more popular in Germany. And interestingly, we see that Adidas, which is blue line, was much more popular over time, actually even globally. And now even in Germany, we have Adidas being actually lagging behind Nike. So Nike is growing in Germany, which is an interesting trend. So after showing Google Trends, another tool that I'd like to show you, and that's the ultimate tool, it's actually Google Keyword Planner. But in order to use Google Keyword Planner, you need to actually now have an AdWords account. And to open your AdWords account, you need to go to google.com/AdWords and then sign up. And if you already have a Google account, any Google account like Gmail, that's going to be even faster and easier. And once you open an account, register your account, you need to go and study the Keyword Planner tool. But before I go on, let me tell you that Google.com AdWords, it's a really important tool that we are going to learn more later. That's an essential tool for internet advertising. So we're gonna learn much more about Google AdWords later. So now I'm in my account and I click on Tools and Analysis and I chose Keyword Planner. So that's where I'm right now. And now I'm going to choose this one, the second one, get search volume for a list of keywords. You can use any of these, but this one is really very useful for the demonstration purpose. Get search volume, and once I click on that, I'm going to be given a search box. Okay, and in this search box, I assume that we are continuing to make an analysis of a tennis warehouse business, and so I enter tennis shoes, sport shoes, Nike shoes, Adidas shoes, in order to understand what people search and what they actually want. Remember, search volume is an indication of demand, and demand equals opportunity if there is no competition. So once again, I'm trying to study if people want more Adidas shoes or Babolat shoes or Wilson shoes. And oh, by the way, how people write tennis racket. Do they say like with a Q or just R-A-C-K-E-T, etc., etc. So what is their way of searching? For example, another piece of information is head racket more popular than Wilson racket? So all of this is code for tennis warehouse business. They want to understand that and then to profile those and advertise those products that have high demand. So let us see what happens when I click on I choose all locations, and I can choose whether or not I want to show results only on Google or on search partners or whatever, and then maybe I exclude some keywords, which is not really the point right now. But now let me see what happens when I click on search. When I submit those search phrases and click on keyword ideas, I get very interesting information. For those people who are very analytical, this is a great tool to discover what's going on with various phrases. So for example, let us see the first two. Nike shoes has a demand per month of 550,000 people searching for that particular search term, versus Adidas shoes, which has 301,000. So now if you have a look at this, you see higher demand for Nike shoes than Adidas shoes. So demand is higher here. So that's an advantage. And by the way, we can see also trends over month by month. And now we see the competition according to Google. This says that Nike shoes have high competition, but also so is the case with Adidas shoes. Okay. And if you were to advertise, you would have to pay for Nike shoes 77 cents per click, which is something that will be explained later. And for Adidas shoes, you would have to pay 76 cents. So my big question is, based on this presented information, which phrase is better? What should we emphasize? Well, if you think of that, the same competition, right? And the same bid, right? So basically it turns out that Nike shoes would be much more interesting because of the higher demand. Of course, this needs to be verified and tested. Testing is the key. Research only goes so far, but the research suggests that we should test Nike shoes. And the next one, interesting piece of information, is this one. Do people type in tennis shoes or sports shoes? Turns out that actually they do both, but tennis shoes are much more popular. Most interestingly, people don't pay. You don't have to pay as much for sports shoes. You would only pay 30 cents per click, as opposed to 4 and more times higher. For tennis shoes, you would have to pay 1.33 cents. So that's quite a difference. So my next big question is, which one would you choose? Sport shoes or tennis shoes? Well, probably sport shoes. They have quite high demand, yet no competition, medium competition, and quite lower cost per click. Now, again, this has to be tested. The next big question is, do people type more often racket with a Q or racket just with a K? And it turns out that it's still with a Q, right? But we have high competition for this word. So that's something to think about. Finally, do people type in more head racket or Wilson racket? Well, it turns out that it is head racket, but Wilson racket, for Wilson racket, we don't have to pay as much for the click. So my choice would probably be to advertise Wilson rackets. And so on and so on. You get the idea how to do an analysis, but the key is really to understand how many people search for the term, the competition level, and how much you need to pay, and to look for the opportunities there. Now, of course, we can do similar analysis for any website, for any business on the internet, and the whole idea, once again, is to find a gap between large demand and not as much competition. In other words, low supply, high demand and low supply. So that'll be it. Those are the 10 tools for online marketing research, and we are just wrapping up this presentation with Google Keyword Planner, a fabulous tool that can help you. Once again, Keyword Planner, when you log into Google AdWords, a fabulous tool that can help you understand what people search and what people want and what they are looking for on the internet. Thank you for listening.